I'm back with another episode of Transforming My Victorian Armchair. After finishing the inside arms of the armchair, in the last episode we were halfway through adding springs to the inside back. So if the algorithm has mysteriously dropped you here, you're probably wondering what on earth is going on. Best to head back to the earlier episodes to see the full upholstery build-up. Otherwise, this will feel a bit like joining a film halfway through and pretending you know the plot. In the last clip, we left off lashing the springs vertically to create a uniform spring unit for the inside back of the chair. At this stage, the springs can't move up and down anymore, but we still need to tie them horizontally to keep them perfectly centered. Because imagine sitting in a chair where the springs weren't tied down, you'd get metal clashing against metal. The whole thing would sound like a percussion instrument, and worse still, it wouldn't be comfortable. So these springs are now one complete unit. There's no movement, left, right, up and down, and they will all work together as one. The next layer is this heavy weighted hessian, which is called a tarpaulin hessian. That's going to go over the springs to stop the loose fibres from falling back through the chair. The heavyweight hessian also acts as a shield, protecting the rest of the upholstery build-up from the metal springs, and that's why we use a thicker grade here. This layer gets tacked down over the springs and becomes the base for our first stuffing, and yes, if you remember the ginger fibre I used on the arms, it's making a comeback. The hessian is stitched and knotted to the coil springs underneath. There is no end to stitching an upholstery, and next up I'm going in with my bridle ties. These are rows of stitches that hold the first loose fibre in place, which in this case is our ginger fibre. The fibres are teased apart and blended together to fluff out any compressed patches. Upholstery is all about creating shape and making sure there aren't any lumps or bumps. To contain the first stuffing, we place another layer of lighter weighted hessian over the top. This keeps the fibres neatly in place and gives us a stable base to place the next stuffing fibres onto. I'm stitching through the hessian to contain the ginger fibre underneath. This needle has been dubbed the murder needle, but it's a double pointed needle, and I'm going to use that to hold my stuffing into the chair. This step is important because we don't want the fibres migrating downwards over time and all ending up at the bottom of the inside back. I'm using a double pointed bayonet needle which has a sharp end on both sides. This makes it much easier to pull the twine down into the back of the chair and then, without turning the needle around, reinsert it back up through the tarpaulin hessian and ginger fibre without snagging on the springs underneath. Next, I'm working along the top edge to create a hand-stitched rolled edge, using the ginger fibre underneath the hessian. It's the same process you saw on the arms back in clip 7. The first upholstery stitch is called a blind stitch. It's worked underneath the hessian, so you never actually see it on the surface. Using the double-pointed needle, I draw the ginger fibre back towards the rear edge, which creates a firm top. The second and final stitch along this edge is the top stitch. I'm using a curved needle to define the edge and form the roll, making it firm by catching the stuffing underneath and securing each stitch with a knot. I promise we're so close to finally getting the top cover on the inside bag. Just a couple of more layers to go, but don't worry, the hard slog is done.